Hello and welcome to Solo Journeys. Today I am your host Sadhbh and I'm joined by your usual host Sasha for the 1-year anniversary of the Solo Journeys podcast. We are so excited for this special anniversary episode so you can get to learn a bit more about your favorite host.
Hopefully favorite.
All right, so let's get into it. Sasha, what is your favorite solo activity?
Well, there are quite many of them, but I would say the most favorite one is to walk in the woods. That's exactly what I do when I need some brain space and also to calm my energies, or like after a stressful day or in the morning. I don't have a schedule there. I just go when I feel I need it. And another one, I like to travel solo, but I also found in the recent trips that I like to travel solo where I know somebody, so I can meet somebody in the location where I'm going to.
Let's talk a bit about the Solo Journeys podcast. What inspired you to set it up?
I actually started when I was in the middle of breaking up with my ex-husband. We weren't divorced yet, but things were already falling apart and we even ended up canceling a trip we have planned together. Nonetheless, I still wanted to go somewhere really and I asked a couple of friends if somebody wants to join. Nobody could at this time. So I thought, you know what, maybe this is something I need to do on my own and this is the right time. I had done solo trips before, but only short ones and usually close to home. And this time I decided to go a bit further away to Israel, and for quite some time, actually 2 weeks. Maybe subconsciously I needed an escape from the situation. And that's kind of where the idea for the podcast came from. That trip made me realize how empowering solo travel can be.
And how did your family and friends react to hearing the news that you would take the trip alone?
I normally don't tell anyone, I just go. I normally share my news post.
This is not a good tip for any solo travelers out there. You should always tell someone where you're going.
Yes.
And when you're coming home. What do you define as a solo journey?
For me, a solo journey is really more of an inner path. It can definitely involve going somewhere physically, but I think it usually starts inside, especially during times of change or transition. Like when you're thinking about switching jobs, going on a solo trip, or just figuring out what's next for you. It's also about who and what you want to have in your life or not to have. Friendships, relationships, breakups, marriages, all that shapes how we function, what influences us, and we need to understand how to start doing better for ourselves. There is so much more to explore, and I didn't want to limit the podcast just to trips. I wanted to be a space to explore all kinds of transitions and moments of self-discovery.
What advice would you give to someone who is going through a transition or who is thinking about going on a solo journey for the first time?
Okay, for someone going on their first solo trip, I would say start small and safe. Maybe pick a place where they speak your language or somewhere where you feel familiar. It can be a weekend or a day trip by yourself when you test the waters and see how it feels. And if I were to go abroad for the first time solo trip, I would start with a place where I know someone. I call it soft adaptation.
What about for people who want to take a solo journey, not necessarily in terms of travel, but more in terms of how they approach life? Somebody who wants to maybe reinvent themselves or who's just not so happy on their path and wants to make a change?
For people going through any major transition, this is a little bit more difficult story, but one thing, stay calm and look for ways to keep that balance. I believe that the right decision only comes when we are in that calm state. There is something I have learned in the recent year. When I'm not calm, I don't take any decisions. I postpone it to the day after.
What do you do to stay calm in difficult situations?
When I feel stressed, I start by acknowledging this condition in my body. Okay, I'm stressed. Next, I accept this condition because I'm a human being and I can be stressed because life is not easy and there are tons of triggers out there. my next question is exactly where is this trigger? This is important in order to abstract yourself from the source of stress and start the calming process. And then depending on how intense it is, what's going on around me, if I'm at work, or I choose what might help most in that moment. For me, sometimes it's enough just to go for a 15-minute walk. Another time, if I'm at home and going to bed, I do a simple candle flame meditation for 20 minutes. But those are highly individual techniques that I'm pretty sure will not work for everyone. So here it is important for each of us to figure out personal way to reduce stress. And if I were to advise one generic way for everyone, it would be breath works. It reduces stress hormones like cortisol really quickly. You will be surprised.
Who would be your number one dream guest? Dead or alive, anyone you want. They're in this room.
Sharon Stone.
Sharon Stone? Why?
She's a fascinating woman. When I was in school, she was a superstar. And then she just disappeared at one point. Now she speaks about many important things, which is proof for me that she's a strong person.
Can you tell us a bit about?
She has been through tough times, like surviving a serious brain injury, and also at the same time, if I remember correctly, there was a story with her husband, something with betrayal, but she still kept going. I like how she has stayed strong and speaks openly about women aging in particular. For me, it's important, with confidence and grace. I even wrote her.
No. On Instagram?
Yes.
Yes. Sharon Stone, if you're listening, please check your DMs. Stone, please respond. How do you deal with loneliness when it shows up?
I usually find something to keep myself busy. I might feel that a little when I'm sad and need some support, but I have a friend who deals with it quickly and efficiently.
So loneliness doesn't really happen so much for you
No.
when you're on your own. For me, if I spend even a day on my own, I already feel very lonely. What advice would you give to someone like me who's maybe not so comfortable with spending time on their own?
It might be a good idea to plan a day off on your own, maybe even go really big and plan a weekend.
That would be so crazy to me.
You could start smaller, for example, plan an evening just for yourself. You can even decide in advance exactly how you want to spend it. You can really plan it from A to Z. And also consider how you could spend it in the most fulfilling way. So you have a nice experience and then you can think of, okay, I can repeat that again another time.
What's something that used to scare you that now feels totally natural?
After 13 years together with a partner, it was sometimes scary to start living alone. And even for me, I had many fears. One of them, the main one, could I handle things on my own? How can I do this? What will happen if I do that? And many things. My ex-partner is a very reliable person and he's still there when I need his help or support. I really appreciate his presence still in my life, not only because he's very supportive, but also I feel he's still my family. Maybe our connection changed, but I really feel that he's my family still.
Is there anything that you did during this time period to take care of yourself, to make sure that you still felt at home, even if the people in your life were changing?
It was such a mess in my head. The best thing I could have done was simply to give myself time to adapt to the new lifestyle. Back then I didn't realize that things would eventually feel normal again. And only later I came across studies showing that it takes around half a year to start feeling more like yourself after the divorce. But actually it's not about the divorce like official procedure itself. It's about breakup. It's valid for anyone who went through a separation. This is because certain neural connections in your brain break and form again, which explains why changes can be so frustrating, actually. In my case, my former partner's parents stopped communicating with me, which added more emotional difficulty during these times. Yes, it was like a double breakup from my partner and from his parents. It's so important to give yourself time and to understand what happens with your body when you go through such processes. It's physical, it's partially mental as well, but it's a lot about our physical state.
Yeah, it's like a withdrawal from the person
drugs.
Yeah, it always feels
changed.
impossible when you're in it, but in the end, looking back, it always seems so obvious.
Let yourself time.
Do you think that solo journeys are more about escaping or returning to yourself?
Both. Solo travel in particular is a great way to understand who you are and who you are not. You learn so much about yourself on these journeys, and what I personally love about solo travel is that everything moves much faster. I don't have to discuss or negotiate plans with anyone. I just do what I want, when and how I want. With friends or partners, you need to find an agreement. I do that sometimes as well. I do still go for holidays with my friends, but then I'm really conscious that there are many people involved into decision-making process, and I have to sometimes step back or adapt. I'm going about it very consciously. However, I also find it's a good way to make a little escape. It's not about ignoring the problem and letting it solve itself, but it is an opportunity to step out for a moment, which might be definitely refreshing.
What's next for solo journeys? What's your bigger vision?
A hotel for solo travelers. I experienced it myself. Accommodation is very often quite expensive if you go alone, and also I'm not a fan of hostels in general.
That's understandable.
There were times
At some point you don't want to share a room with 5 other random men.
Yeah, I just want to have my privacy, especially like after a full of exciting moments day. You just need your space, your shower, and nobody else in the room.
And it's been 1 year of the Solo Journeys podcast and of your journey in creating this space for people to connect, to learn more about themselves and about other people. What has been your biggest learning this year?
Every journey starts with a single step. If you have an idea, start somewhere. Take baby steps. Nothing happens if you only think about things. And when you start something from scratch, be ready that it will not be as you probably expect. High chances. You will learn how to learn, and you will learn how to live with imperfection. This is a great exercise. I can only recommend it. Again, a deep.
That's a good learning though. That can be applied to so many things and so many aspects of life and so many solo journeys. Sasha, it's been so nice to talk to you about your solo journey. It's not so often that we get to hear the real story behind the host of a podcast. So it's been really special to have you on the show on your own podcast and to learn about your solo journey, which of course always starts with a single step.
Well, in the next episode, I talked to Susie Doscher, an executive coach specializing in personal development and leadership. We will dive into a powerful topic of self-empowerment and how to become the captain of your own life. Stay tuned. I would like to encourage anyone listening to this podcast to give us a feedback or to share a success moment that is connected to Solo Journeys episodes. This is extremely important for me personally and also for my guests. This will also support our motivation to do more and better. You can write us on WhatsApp group you can find by the name Solo Journeys. Thank you so much. I'm looking so much forward to hear your stories.